Um, yeah, because I just think people get it turns into a crutch, you know. They
Yeah,
never really like think for themselves.
exactly. I think that's the problem. You don't make them think about what they're doing. So they just follow this script, that they have. So they don't, you're right, they don't develop that way. Because also these lessons plans aren't like, they don't tell you point by point, okay. I mean, I guess they do. CAP does tell you, but it doesn't give you like specific cues, I think, like easy cues. It just gives you maybe one thing and then that's it. But doesn't make you think because like, one cue doesn't work for everybody. So you got to think about various things to say. Um,
Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at a cap one. I do remember they would put like common faults to look out for and things like that,
yeah,
which I actually think are really helpful and aren't utilized enough as coaches. I think writing those things down and it gives you this clearer map of what to look at will help you see those things. But like I think in my argument, I would say like I would have liked to have seen when we were using cap, you know, deadlift shrug, right? And it's a progression. And like next to that, it says squeeze your butt before you shrug your shoulders or keep the bar close to the legs. And then it would be like, look for that when you're clearing the, in your progression for
yeah,
class. That's what I would like to see because I think that's something that is something that can be built with habit the more you're exposed to it versus, in my case, I went and got to learn the hard way that I should have been looking for those things when it could have been written and
a little bit
I could
dirty
have
there.
known to do it.
Lisa.
They gave me a new laptop today.
I ain't clean it for you.
There we go.
So
That's way better.
I think that it's just still so different for you to write it down than for you to actually read it.
Oh, 100%. I think the action of writing what you're gonna do is such a good like memory retainer
Yes.
versus just reading it through. I totally agree with that. Connor at Bar 10, they rotate lesson plans. So I like that one because if you are doing it every single day and you're like maximizing it, I don't want to say it's a lot of work because you get good at it and you'll be fast, but it's still a little extra time and a little extra work. So rotating it, I like that it takes some like load off. But then he's like basically forcing all the coaches to have to write one now versus like imagine we're giving $150 to whoever writes the most lesson plans in a month, and it's halfway through the month. Week one, we had 3 out of 6 coaches doing it. Week two of them fell off, and we had one coach doing it. And then the past couple days, I haven't gotten anything. And then the shit that we're getting is an absolute joke. I don't care if they watch this. It's literally just time frames and like warm up, time frame specific warm up. And I'm like, cool. We know we got to be done in an hour. Like that's not
Yeah.
rocket science,
Yeah.
So it's like it's just like there's no effort in it as well. And that's why I made the comment that I think so many coaches think it's this pointless, rudimentary thing, and they're good. They don't need to do it anymore, and they're just so dead wrong on it. But
Yeah, but
the devil's in the details.
yeah, they don't know what they don't know though. Because like if nobody has actually taught them, okay, this is how you actually do a lesson plan, and you have every specific detail, they're not gonna know. They just think it's like that, the time frame, and then you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, that's it. They don't get into specifics.
100% they don't know what they don't know. I totally agree with that. I think there is, out of 100 coaches, I think probably 75 of them don't know what they don't know, and they think they know, but they actually aren't even close. I do think that's very true. But then there is still a factor of why don't they know what they don't know? One, they don't really
Looking
give a
for it.
shit to figure it
Right,
out and look for it and
exactly.
learn. And then two, like I'm sending my lesson plans in, they see that it's an entire page of written stuff. I even highlight things sometimes for them so they can see better. Because if you guys have seen my writing, you know what it looks like. It's not the most amazing thing in the world. And it's just like a lack of care. Like no one goes, oh wow, I wrote 4 lines with numbers by it. Nate's got an entire page with details of how he's going to coach it and what he's going to look for even.
And
It-
nobody
it-
has,
it's a
nobody has
lack of
asked
care.
you about it, like, oh, why do
No.
you do it this way or anything? Like, nobody is curious why
Not
you're
a
doing
thing.
that.
Not a thing. And Issa, you just asked, why don't you coaches join these calls? I don't know, to be honest, because like you're at work right now, you're squeezing it in. You guys know people listen in sometimes and they can't communicate, but they at
So
least
they have been
listen.
invited, like
Oh, all of them.
personally.
They've been
Okay.
invited multiple times and they have gotten the Zoom link multiple times. I just actually sent the Zoom link 2 hours ago again. Um,
That's so annoying.
and it's just like for me, this is at least me. If I was a gym owner, like I like all these people a lot, but I'm like, there's a little bit of a lack of care there. Like the moment I get somebody else that's interested in coaching, guess what? We're going 0 to 100 and I'm pulling your classes. And when you go, why? Like you've had opportunity after opportunity, including little bonuses. Dude, if I'm not going to take the $150, but like, if you tell me that, I'm gonna lesson plan for classes I'm not even coaching. I'm gonna take that $150 home. Like it's easy free money, right?
Yeah,
So
but
it's
it's
just
also
it's
crazy
a
that they have to pay you to do your job. Like, they have to pay you extra to do what you're supposed to be doing that they're already paying you for.
which I don't agree with. I think it's your job, and I think you should
Exactly.
do your job like you're supposed to do your job. And I don't think it should be a bonus thing. I think lesson planning is a part of what we're supposed to do, as coaches. So that's a whole nother rant for another day for sure. All right. So this is Jose's. I thought it would be good to kind of kick off today with taking some looks at lesson plans. And then from there, we're gonna actually like build one out. Um, and like I said, we've touched on this, we've gone through them and like talked about it before, but I think I've gotten a little sharper. And I think honestly, the sharper you can be with these, the sharper you're gonna end up in class. So let's take a look at Jose's. First, I want to start off. Mine don't look like this. Mine look totally different. I don't care how you write your lesson plan, what order you do things in, as long as it makes sense to you and you understand what you're writing, the order it's going in, and all of those things. I think that's the most important thing, right? It's like when we were in school, we probably all took notes different. Take notes in the way or write your lesson plan in the way you're going to understand it the best. So I'll have mine up here too. You'll see like the way it just visually looks very different. Um, so we're just gonna kind of go through step by step because I like some of the things he did. So this was yesterday's mayhem workout. You have to get through, here's the WOD on the side. We've got a 1 rep max deadlift, basically. I see 15 minutes for. I ran the same thing at my gym. And then we've got power cleans and running. The power cleans go up in weights. So and then we've got, I think the actual WOD for that was 14, or the cap was 14 minutes. So you got 30 minutes of actual workout that's going to have to be done. We just took 50% of the class away because we got to get through these two things, right? So something I think Jose did very well here is he's got his little, I'm going to assume this top part is his general warm up, right? It looks pretty short. He's got a little 3-minute window, but it's spicy. Tabata lunges, Tabata banded activation. And then we had some barbell good mornings, right? We're moving through. It's not super long, but it hits a lot of the things that we need to hit in this. And then when you go, okay, probably not all the way warm, I think he had a great specific warm up right after that. That's going to cap off the warm up. So I like that he didn't waste a shitload of time on stuff that's like not going to improve the athlete's mechanics and actual. What in the specific warm up, I want you guys to kind of like try to think and pick out what you like about it. So he's got deadlifts, clean deadlifts. Even gets a little fancy and like does a little mixed grip. So you can tell he's kind of blending the deadlift and the clean together. I did the same thing. I just changed their hip angling a little bit later on in my class for this. What do you like about this little specific warm up going on here?
I like that he even wrote like what he's the teaching point for like that piece.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that it just doesn't say 3 deadlifts, 3 clean deadlifts. He's like, okay, we're gonna focus on the setup And then we're gonna focus on the heels down, right? He's got a couple things that like we're really thinking of there. Doesn't get super dynamic here. The one thing I think he could probably add was like on the deadlift or a clean deadlift, we have no timing piece yet, but he could add bar path, right? Shave your legs would have been a really simple, fast piece. And now he's got a static teaching point and a dynamic teaching point. But I think he does a really good job with this. He has, bar path addressed here with keep the bar close. He's got extension there. I had this conversation with Diana yesterday on a lesson plan. Try not to use our jargony words. So if I'm coaching class and I'm like, okay, guys, I want you guys to hit extension before pulling the bar. We get what that means. There's going to be somebody that doesn't know what the hell that means. So what's another way we can say that?
Squeeze your butt.
Squeeze your butt before you pull, jump before you pull, like whatever. It's just a lot simpler for them to grasp and understand. And I know I've found on that a couple times, and I used to kind of be the person that's like, it's stupid. Like I'm gonna say core, everybody knows, until you get somebody that's like, no clue what you're talking about, dude. Most people aren't gonna tell you they don't have a clue, and you just get that one special apple that is a little more vocal in their opinions and thoughts, and then you learn, oh shit, like it's actually real. People don't know always what you're talking about. So with the lesson,
Nate.
let me say one last thing and then I'm gonna let you in. With the lesson plan, I think it's important to not only if you want to write down the jargony things because you just want to make yourself sharper, go for it. But have the simple verbiage of your point of performance or whatever you want them to focus on. That if you had a 6-year-old in class, they can understand it and they got it. If a kid can't understand it, you know it's probably a little too much. Something I like to do sometimes is I'll write balance of the frontal plane because what are my goals? My goals are to be a level 4 and to get on staff eventually. So I need to understand that real jargony shit, but then also what's balance of the frontal plane. Hey guys, keep the bar close. So I have 2 written down there. That's obviously extra. The simple term is going to be the best thing for you guys and actually translate. Justin, what were you going to say?
What I have found, and just this is from like teaching yoga, and
Same stuff, really.
Same stuff. Is when like teachers that I know that have like a heavy understanding of anatomy, like PTs, for example, and they just use all the jargon. It's pretty annoying, right? And I know it, and I actually love the jargon because you can say an anatomical piece of the body, and I can go right there with one word versus having to use 5 words to describe a location. So
we're 1% of the population that gets it.
Correct. What I like to do when I teach is I try to use both. I'll use the jargon, and then I'll describe what that jargon means. As for example, extend your hips, and you can extend the hips through glute engagement, and that can kind of teach while also instructing.
Like
and
educating.
What I find all the time happens in my classes when I do use the jargon, and like I'll have like higher level people in my class, like maybe it's I actually had a guy that was EMT. He's like, "Are you a PT?" I'm like, "No, but I mean, I use some of that language," and he's like, "I loved it." But what I find is that if you can use the language but describe it, like you can really teach as well that kind of movement to the basics.
I like to do that too, because I love to nerd out when I'm able to nerd out. The one thing I think you have to be very cautious of is I think yoga, the speed is obviously different. So I think you're probably able to get away with it and do it a lot more than like me teaching CrossFit class. But like people are there to move and exercise. The reason why I like the really fast, keep the bar close, I didn't talk too much either. Right. There's a time and a place, I think, for educating. So like as a CrossFit coach, I think one of the biggest pitfalls I see when someone comes out of a level 1 is they're like so much knowledge, so much overload. And they're like, well, keeping your core tight and your heels down, you'll get posterior chain engagement. And it's like, they're so excited because they have so much knowledge that they want to share with the world that they end up talking too much. And then I'm just sitting there with the barbell waiting to move. So in certain times and places, I think you can 100% educate, because I'm a big believer in like knowledge is power, and I think the more you can educate, the better. But know when to use that, and when you're running a progression like this, we don't really always have the time to do it. What's the fastest way to lose attention of a class? Middle of progression, you're starting to talk too much, right? We've all been there, and you see like one athlete kind of drift away, another one leans to their friend and they start saying some shit to them. And you kind of just see the wheels getting loose on the bus and starting to fall off. The more I can keep them engaged and we're actually moving, one, movement's obviously going to make them better because now I can see and correct them. If they're not moving, I'm not actually making them a better athlete. So keep that in mind. So with these lesson plans, have those short actionable cues. That's not just for cueing an athlete. Short actionable can also be for your teaching point. And then like Justin was saying, if you've got time and you're with somebody on the side, and like we kind of know who likes that stuff and doesn't, then I'll like use some jargony stuff. And I tell them, hey, your heels are directly correlated to your posterior chain engagement. That means our big muscles in the back are working versus not working. You know, time and places for those things. But yeah, love the details here. Obviously we can't see a ton on this picture. So with Jose's example he sent me, I wanted to just share this. He was telling me that class, all hell broke loose because he ended up with a shitload of people. So he did make an audible. I don't have that on my computer, but I do also want to say you have this amazing lesson plan, right? We've got rowers today. At the end of my lesson plan, I've got a oh shit audible written. And that is what the WOD would be if it was partners, what the workout would be if all my rowers broke. Like, it's dumb. And I think 9 out of 10 times you're not going to need it. But the one time you need it, it will save your ass. And the one time you don't have it and you sit there and you go, give me a second. It's like you're losing credibility as
So
well.
that's what happened yesterday. We had signed like 17 people, and then the administrator came in like, I think you're gonna have 23.
Shit.
Like,
And
oh shit.
then I said, yeah, I said, oh shoot, okay, I'm gonna team them up. We only have 4 runners. I'm gonna team them up in teams of 4, so they all be moving. One's gonna be running, one's gonna be practicing deadlifts, the other power clean, the other one's gonna be observing. And then I got all their bikes too. And then that was my first curveball. 25 people showed up to the class. Okay, so I need to set up more bikes. Okay, where everyone's moving, fine. Workout is done, the deadlift was done, and then the workout started raining. Nobody can run outside. So everyone needs
You got
some.
double curveball.
Yes, I had double curveball yesterday. So okay, now what's the calories that you're going to do in the air bike? What's the calories that you're going to do in the ski? What are you going to do? What is everyone going to do? Because now we're using rower skis, air
Everything.
bikes, bike ergs to fit 25 people there. So I was like, that was my curveball for there. So okay, I need them 1 minute to be doing whatever they do. 15 calories, 12 calories for the female.
Great example of it happens,
Yeah.
you know, like it does happen. And especially in South Florida, you know, it rains, it's a 0% forecast and then it downpours, and not only does it downpour, lightnings. So having those things really can save you. Just an idea, just throw out there. I don't want to go down too much of a tangent, but like most of the time, everybody has jump ropes on them. And if they don't, the gym has them. I love a running in place jump rope, like stagger footing. Because I mean, what does that look like? All I do, if I lean forward, now I'm actually running. Yesterday with 200 meter, I think that's a short distance that works really well. And you say, okay, you're gonna do 100 jump ropes of that stagger foot run. And if someone's like really tripping up and having trouble, then you can go to a single, but it's the same movement pattern now rather than an erg. Especially the reason I bring that up is like yesterday, barbells take up a lot of space, and you got 26 people in class. Now you have a shitload of space eaten up by barbells. Getting out bikes and ergs, that's going to make it even tighter too. So sometimes something like that can be a good idea. I've also had people do like fast plate hops. So the person that can't really do like the skipping in place with 2 feet, like a quick, like fast foot plate hop is a good way to make them do it as well.
I
Is it
totally
ideal?
forgot.
Totally would
But-
rather make them run, but
Burpees too.
yeah.
We went in the
I love
COVID.
burpees for it. People get weird though, but I
In
like
COVID,
burpees too.
in COVID, we were working out in our houses. So that's, I totally forgot. We used to do like toes to
It's fast feet.
to the barbell, toes to the barbell, like the same barbell that you're gonna use. You're gonna
Yeah.
touching the barbell or
I
like
love those.
jump rope. I never thought of.
COVID was such a good example of like how much more creative we can be if we think. And you know, when we talk about lesson planning, like that's part of it. Like we're thinking of those scenarios. Usually when I write, I don't do this every day because I think I'm pretty good on my feet. But like when I'm writing a lesson plan and I'm gonna go coach for Bar 10, which Bar 10 has amazing athletes all the way up to older masters with like post-surgical. So I mean, you get everything there. I've got a little thing where it's like hurt shoulder, can't move it, this, hurt knee, this, hip, this. And I even got like all the common injuries and what I would audible there too. So when they ask me, I'm like, boom. And I know it is extra work, but it can really save your ass on that. Yes, Laura. Go ahead.
We don't have to do this now, but it made me think like I always struggle with like, for example, someone who doesn't want to run, like just converting the run to how many calories on like whatever machine, stuff like that.
This is a touchy one for me. This would be better if we like type it out. I think I actually have a conversion chart I can just send to you guys that'll help. I'm real pissy about, do you not want to run? Or you can't physically run because you're injured and something's wrong. Like, I'm gonna tell y'all, bump back on those people that just don't want to run. That shit drives me crazy. Like, it's definitely a pet peeve, like hit of mine. But I mean, like, we're CrossFitters. We do everything, right? We're hard people. We choose to do hard things in life, and we like to start our days off with the hardest thing we're gonna do of the day. Get out there and fucking run. You know, is 400 meters appropriate? Maybe not. Maybe that's a terrible idea. But get out there and do something. You know what? If you can't run, guess what? You're gonna walk today. You're gonna get out there and move, because one of the most functional things that we do is moving on our feet. We all need to be able to do that and maintain that our entire life, regardless of fitness. So like next time you've got somebody, if they're not hurt, like, cool, man, we're gonna walk today. I promise you, they're not about to go out there and walk while everyone goes for a run. I promise you, you'll see them jogging. Bump back on that. And I think that's just over the years, it's just grinding my gears more and more. And then when I coached at Bar 10 and it poured down rain and they thought I was crazy for saying we're gonna row today, that just was like the icing on the cake. Every single one of those people, including the 80-year-old I had in class, went outside and ran in the rain. And I'm like,
Gina.
oh, stay hard.
Gina, push back on Casey now. Get her to run.
I mean, don't, if someone's hurt, totally different scenario, right? And I know there's people that you know are not hurt. So if they're hurt, obviously this doesn't apply. But sometimes I'll go, oh, you're hurt today. And I like let them know that they're lying. And you kind of see their attitude change a little bit. Like, you're boss. Like you're the expert in fitness. They're not the expert in fitness. I know stuff sucks. If I could, I would ban thrusters and pistols, right? But it's a part of the game. I still got to do it. All right, let's change gears on lesson plans. Just another example, and then we'll build one. So this is mine. Not really super pretty. I like to write everything out, and this is kind of just the style I do it. Like going down the page helps me, just helps me remember and retain things as I go through. Usually I write out my brief, because I'll write out like scaling options, and I like to even break down depending what the watt is. Like today I had like, you need to be off the rower and sub 230. You need to be off we had dumbbell snatches too. And like your goal is 230, to give them these micro goals in hitting the stimulus. I think it's easy for us to say, this is the stimulus, let's get in there. For a lot of people, they're like, they need more of a navigation how to get there. So giving them like micro goals within the workout is a really great way to navigate them into that window of stimulus time. So normally I would write all that out in the brief. But let's go through general warm up. all super really simple stuff. We're moving. I'm just worried about like a little bit of heart rate, a little bit of sweat, ranges of motion, getting some joints going. Everything was on the clock, right? So if you were real achy today and you had to touch your toes or do the high knee or butt kick, whatever I've got there slow because you're sore, go as slow as you want, but we're all changing together, right? If you feel good and you want to rip it and kind of build into it, you're able to really gas yourself out. So it kind of gives those options, but on the clock keeps me on schedule, right? We were done at the 6 minute mark. We hammered this. Everyone was breathing a little heavy. They were a little sweaty, right? I finished it with a front rack opener even, so they got on the barbell, were able to move. And then even in the general warm up, like having those little cues. Some of them I don't, right? Because it's a CrossFit class. It's not level 4, or I'm not in front of staff, so sometimes I let them move freely. But like, you know, the RDL, active shoulder, I just want to see this, right? I don't care how low they get. I want them to understand what that means. So when we go to the barbell later, they get it. So having little teaching points, even though I'm moving fast there, don't waste the warm up. Coach them through some things to think about here and there. On the air squat, I even let people sit down there and wiggle around if they wanted to. And then we get to the specific one, very similar to Jose. I have all the different points that I wanted them to focus on. I actually switched my points on the first 2, but like the hang high pull, I ended up doing, I said hips. I ended up doing bar path on that one. And then the hang muscle snatch, that was turned into make sure you know, stand before pull those arms. And it's just got each point. I even write out, you see where it says look, like in the dynamic, I'm looking for the active shoulders and where's their hip positions, right? And I have each of those. So it gives me an opportunity to have something for them to think about when they're not moving, and then have something to think about when they are moving. That's a tough habit to get in if you're not used to it, but try to start to get into that habit. Like focal point, static, focal point dynamic, that's where your eyes go every time. And if that means they've got a little subtle fault in something, and you can be like, hey, nice job with the heels, and then you get an extra cue, great job. But otherwise, you can be, hey, nice job in the heels, and you haven't done the active shoulder yet, and you're going to do that the next time, then you can go there, right? But it shows me and it teaches yourself on where your eyes need to go every time you're running a progression, every stage of it that you guys have. Nothing irks me more than empty reps on a progression, right? Like, yeah, our point is to get to the major movement, but it's kind of like, why are you even calling the reps and holding people in the positions if you're not going to take the time and correct them? Like, if you're not going to do that, just be like, give me 5 reps here, because what's the difference? What's the point? Any questions, thoughts? Similar to Jose on those like focal points, just a different example of like how I personally write mine out. I don't draw the line anymore with timeline. I just write my times on the side, and you can even see like I'll change my mind 100 times based on what I'm writing in here. Cool. Let's build one. Oh wait, I got one more sheet actually. There's not much on this one, I think. Only other thing I wanted to just point out, like this is a little skimpy on the back end. This is the same workout, but writing down like split the groups in 2. Split groups in 2, 3, depending on the number of athletes. Take advantage of planning those things too, right? This was a heavy day clean and jerk. I kind of intentionally ignored our Metcon because it was simpler and I was doing my own prep. But plan out how you're gonna group manage and coordinate things, because you can stage yourself for a great class, but I have all 20 athletes doing the cleans in my heavy day at the same time, which does what? Limits how many people I can coach. Or I can have all 20 athletes going in 3 different sections of my clock. And now I've got, 7 people moving at a time in 3 different groups. And now it's going to give me the ability to cue more every single set that they do. So have that thought in mind as well when you are able to use a clock to your advantage in the tool, and it is like a heavy day whether it's just a heavy day because you follow cap or it's like a heavy piece in mayheming, break them up, have them go at different times. I also think too, when you're like group one's going on the 0, group two's going on the minute, and you're sitting there and you're queuing, and it's like boom, 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 boom. That also gets a little bit of energy in the room rather than everyone lifts for 10 seconds and the barbells drop. And then you have another, minute 50 that has to go by and no one's doing anything. So I think just from an energetic point of view, I think energy breeds fitness. It's gonna fire people up, right? And the people like did come in a little groggy, it kind of like wakes them up a bit. Any thoughts, comments on any of that stuff?
From like a just like athlete standpoint, when you split it up, I think you kind of noted that the energy you get, but what I love from an athlete standpoint is when like I get done going and now like Jose is gonna do his PR and his deadlift, like I'm over here like cheering him on, getting that room like energized as well. So I love how you split that up and you get to watch other people go. It kind of adds.
You can see how fitness would grow from that hype if you like take a step back and you watch it when two different groups are going. What's another thing that happens? If I'm on the rack with Jose on a barbell and I'm trying to be a little C word today and not really do my heavy day right, now like Jose is gonna bump me back to like actually work hard too. So like when it's scenarios that aren't very high, technical lifts, because obviously skill is gonna come into ball and play there, but it's like a squat day or a deadlift day or a press day. I've got my partner now that's like, even if they're not saying anything to me, it's like this weird little accountability that I don't want to be the one that drops the ball while they're knocking out those reps. Like it's gonna make me also just work harder there too. So I think it all comes like full circle around. And then from a community standpoint, right? Making friends, you're meeting people, you're not being solitary, and what's actually going to keep people at the gym in the long run? It's because you enjoy going, right? And your friends are there, and there's people you talk to, and you get a good workout. It's like all bonus. All right, we're gonna try
Yeah, the vibes
something.
were high yesterday at the gym with heavy deadlift, and everyone was just cheering each other on. That shit was fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. I love like, even if I'm not part of class, if I'm with a client or doing something on the side, I will scream across the room to gas somebody up on like, especially if it's a 1 rep max day. And like you can kind of see it breed. And if you have a coach and the coach is kind of quiet and you're the one there gassing people up, I promise you that coach is gonna start chirping. If they're gonna get louder. I saw it yesterday on our deadlift. Coach was silent. I'm like, this is freaking lame, man. Like, it's a 1 rep max dead day, and the coach was just walking around mumbling with his PVC pipe. I started screaming, and then he got loud. Then we ring PR bells and stuff. It's fun. Can you guys see the whiteboard?
It's loading. Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's there now. Okay, cool. This is the first time I played with it yesterday. We're gonna see how this goes. I tried to write like a real whiteboard, doesn't go well. So we're just gonna click the text box and actually write it. So I figured we'll build a lesson plan now together. Do you guys want to do a heavy day, or do you want to do a Metcon?
Metcon.
All right, let's build our Metcon. Let's do a triplet. So let's do 3 movements. Let's do 2 decently technical ones. And let's do a simple one. Let's somebody name a movement.
Hang snatch.
Thanks, Ash. Reps don't really. Actually, let's make it interesting. Water power,
Dumbbell.
dumbbell.
Single.
They're doing today's WOD.
Yeah, I was just thinking of.
All right, so we got hang snatch. Name another movement, guys.
Burpee.
Burpee. Hmm. All right, burpees are caveman. We got our simple one. What is Give me one last one that is a hair more complex than like a burp.
Ring muscle up.
Oh, shit,
It's extremely complex.
all out there. At least it's not a squat snatch. At least Justin's letting his power. All right,
We're doing
We got our-
squat
we got-
stretches today.
we got our workout here. So we got 4 rounds, 25 dumbbell hang snatch, 20 burpees over the dumbbell, 5 ring muscle ups. Well, we got to figure out time domain. Let's work on time domain. How long does 25 dumbbell hang snatch take at this RX weight?
Let's see, like a minute, maybe?
I'm gonna say a minute too. Yeah, roughly about a minute there. Like we're gonna create these stimuluses off of our better athletes in the world. So we're gonna call that a minute. 20 burpees over the dumbbell.
A minute and a half?
I think that's a pretty good estimate. Like, can I get this done in a minute? For sure. Can I be faster than a minute? For sure. Is it a good idea? For
No.
most people, probably not. Right. So I think a minute and a half is probably a really good cadence rhythm here. And then what's our 5 ring muscle ups?
Another minute, maybe?
Yeah, we can call that a minute. It's probably, I would say 30 seconds, like for the actual reps. So
Yeah.
let's go 45 seconds. Because let's say I walked over to the rings, I chalked my hands, I
Right.
took a breath, and then I stepped up and went. Or maybe I went and I ripped the rings and I ripped it, but I did 3, I came down for 10 seconds and then I did 2, something like that. So we got a minute, 90 seconds, we're at 2:30, and then we've got 45 seconds for the muscle up. So we've got 315 times 4 rounds, that's 12 minutes, that's 13-minute cap. So we got our faster athletes of the world. We're gonna call it 11 minutes here, which I do think can probably go a little quicker, but I think this is a good general affiliate goal. And then let's go to 14. So 11 to 14 is our time. I hate time caps. Time caps are, I didn't do my job in coaching. I didn't scale people how I should have scaled people. So we're gonna put this safety net there in case all hell breaks loose. For Mayhem, I understand we are kind of constrained by having a time cap, right? We have so much shit in class, we kind of have to use it. But if you're not doing Mayhem and you're doing cap and things like that, time caps are BS cop-outs. Do your job. All right, so we've got our stimulus, we've got our goal here. We already broke it down, piece by piece. So when I do my whiteboard brief, I know I can sputter out all of those things. I'm not gonna write out every single weighting detail of this lesson plan just because it would take me forever. And I don't type that fast. So we've got our workout here, right? Our workout brief, we're gonna go flow. What would be next in our workout brief? Just did it. Stimulus. Yeah. I'm gonna try to get 11 to 14. I can break down each one so they have these micro goals. So how am I gonna get to my stimulus? What's next?
Strategy?
Not really.
Scaling?
Scaling.
Oh,
Yeah, I would say
scaling.
strategies in like the realm of it. Your strategy could be a scale, right? But yeah, scaling. So like dumbbell hang snatch. Give me scaling options. Obviously load. We always go to load. What's another scaling option for that?
Maybe just presses.
Reps.
Reps. I would say reps before presses. Presses would be like someone can't high pull or someone can't hinge, then yeah, I would go to like a press. Like that's more of an injury scale. Burpee over dumbbell, scaling options.
Just the burpee.
Yeah, I would go okay, hey guys, just do a burpee if you need to. We know jumping over that dumbbell is like oddly hard for some reason. Maybe that's reps too. Maybe we drop that down to like 15. So that way that person can get done in that 90-second window. Ring muscle up, scaling options.
Like muscle up transitions.
Yeah, low rings, right? I've got all sorts of degrees of that. I can do false grip ring row. If I've got 90-year-old grandma, I can just do ring row. I've got low ring transition with your feet on the floor. I've got some like mid-range rings where they're going to transition. The feet are going to be off the floor in the bottom of the dip. I can do like a jumping ring muscle up. All of these things are going to work. With all of them, it's going to be so important that I have all the same positions, right? Nothing is worse than having someone do like jumping ring muscle ups and they're just having this great time swinging on the rings and they're not actually going through positions. Going through positions are gonna get the person better. Not going through positions, we're just having a good time swinging today. Sometimes that might be, a necessary thing for class, but sure that you work the skills in those. All right, so we've got our plan, we've got our roadmap. We don't have to do our general warm up. We do our general warm up, it's 5 minutes long. What do you guys want to teach first?
Maybe the easiest movement to the more complex one.
The burpee. So
Mhm.
I would personally do burpees in my warm up. I would
Mhm.
probably do like a phase of them. I would do a kickback, would be scaling option potentially, like that's someone that's really deconditioned. Or maybe a master that needs to step back and just go into a plank and step up, like kickback. So I just layered a scaling option in my general warm up. I would go normal burpee too. That's another scaling option in my general warm up. And then I would go burpee over dumbbell. How would you guys do the burpee over dumbbell?
Like, how would you show it?
Yeah. How would you teach it? What do you want? What do you want to teach them? We got
I-
something to teach there for sure.
I would first say to start right with your feet right next to the dumbbell. That way, when you kick back and come back in your burpee, you're right where you're supposed to be to go over the dumbbell.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. So on my regular burpee, my cue would be, hey, we're gonna practice intentionally today, a step back, a step forward, and then burpee over DB. It's the same thing. Right? And we've practiced that now with the lateral jump. And then how I would do this is I would have everyone do the step so they feel what that feels like piece by piece. And then I'm like, hey, if you guys want to try to go faster, you can kick back. But when we kick back and if we're going to choose to kick forward, let's make sure our feet get in the same spot as when we did our step back, step forward. Right. Another thing I would kind of layer in here too is if we do the step back, step forward, I'm also intentionally pacing myself to not accidentally redline. So it's also becomes this little bit of strategy, not just lining myself up good for this lateral jump over the burpee. So a burpee over dumbbell, throw that in our movement list that we did the other day of shit that's not coached and for sure could be forgot about. Now we just actually coached it and it's going to make that life easier for the athlete. So I would do that in general warm up. That was a great job there. What's next? Let's go. I'm going to do dumbbell hang snatch personally. Let's go. Let's go progression. What do you guys want to do first here?
I would go with the deadlift just to make sure that they're picking it up right.
Yeah, you could. I would make it very clear
Yeah.
that we're not going to the ground in this because I think if you do deadlift first, you're for sure going to have people go to the ground. I did not do the deadlift first this morning. When I taught this, we have dumbbell hang snatch, and I still had 2 or 3 people going to the ground every rep, and I had to tell them twice. I just think that's a early morning lack of listening thing going on there. But we can go deadlift. What are we going to focus on deadlift?
Picking it up with a straight back.
Give me a cue for that. Give me a really short, actionable one-liner. This is a little tough.
I mean, straight back, keep a straight back.
Yeah, show me your chest, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Especially on a dumbbell, just because the range of motion is lower, so there's a little more squatty. So they're gonna have to get squatty. And I think I like to say, show me the logo on your shirt. Yeah. Straight back's gonna work for some people. But
Actually, first, I would say the dumbbell should be in between your feet.
there you go. You know, it's another one that we could use. Weight in your heels, right? If we're gonna do deadlift and we're not deadlifting that day, I can at least get that because weight in your heels is gonna translate into, the hang. All right, so second one.
High pull with the dumbbell.
I would go hang high pull,
Yeah, hang high pull.
right? Because we're gonna hang.
Mhm.
What's your teaching point there? Right?
Keep
What
it
are we
close.
doing there? Keeping it close can be one.
Timing.
Timing, right? So core to extremity. Those are our jargony terms there. Issa, you said timing. What is your verbal teaching point that you're gonna say? This would work for a barbell too.
Legs first, then pull.
Yeah, legs, then pull, jump, then pull, squeeze your butt, then pull. Million simple ways to say that. Let's not even say legs. Let's say stand. This morning I used your arms are ropes. All I want you to do is bend over and jump. And I literally had people jump, and you saw the dumbbells just like floating up there. And my cue was don't pull your arms at all. Your arms are dead, and it worked really well. Disclaimer: don't hit yourself. I have had people hit themselves when they do that. So just being cautious. But any of those work really well. What's 3?
Can I ask a question on the pull? Like today,
Yeah.
doing this, I was like, God, there's a lot of ways I can do this pull. Like I was probably like mixing like 3 different ways of doing the pull, where I was doing like what you would think of like a high pull and then get under it. Then I was doing more of like
Kettlebell swing.
a pull forward, like a straight arm pull forward, like a more of a muscle up. And then I was doing like a pull forward, muscle up, getting under it, and then like lifting. I was like, wow, there's a lot of different ways I can approach this.
So
Felt great.
mechanically speaking, we want to keep it close, right? Because if I have load that's getting away from my body, that means the lever in my lower back is changing in my core, and they're going to have to work harder. Versus if whatever it doesn't, not just a dumbbell snatch, but any load, the closer it is to my body, the less I'm actually going to work for it.
I usually say, what's the closest way from point A to point B? A straight line
Straight
or a
line.
curve?
Yep, that's another really good way to do it. So we do want to stay as close as possible for the most movement efficiency as possible. That being said, I've seen very high level competitors swing the shit out of it around. Like, if it's faster and it's detrimental to your body, but you're not going to get hurt, but it's faster and you're trying to win a comp, I think that's where things are going to get a little gray. But mechanically speaking, keeping it close, like really efficient, close should still be the quickest way and the less burning energy.
Well, we had 40, 2 rounds of 40
There's
this
a
morning.
lot.
Yeah, and I was able to do them unbroken. I think it's because I started with the first half doing pull.
You kind of mixed it up.
Yeah, and then I was doing a straight arm pull forward, and then I was getting underneath it. But I was like,
And I've done that. I've done that too, where I've like changed my pattern, and it's not like this perfect movement pattern, but because the pattern changed, I kind of changed what body part was working. And I was able to go from like my quads in this jump to more of like a glute hamstring kettlebell swing. Like that's great. I think you're a lot more mindful of most people, and most people are just going to swing it from the get go type thing, and they're going to blow up of some sort. Does that make sense? But yeah, like real, what is right would be that close dumbbell as close to the frontal plane as possible and like close to the center of mass as possible. Anytime we're closer to our own center of mass, the movement should be easier if we've done it well. That being said, what's a common fault when someone's going to keep it close? They're going to pull early and they're going to actually make it harder. So their thing might be it's easier to swing. Well, that's because they have a movement fault now and they have a violation of quarter extremity. So it's also finding what are the faults going to be and why something could feel easier versus not feel easier. I went muscle snatch this morning, right? It's terrible. And my thing here was punch, right? I just get an active shoulder overhead, right? You can pause them up there as well. Make sure we're here and we're not doing like a YMCA. What would the last one be?
Jump and land, jump and punch.
Yeah. This is my favorite. Get as tall as you can, then get short. Really drives home a hip extension and then a get under, right? Because everybody loves to skip the get under and then they start to fail and test things out and then their arms blow up and then they're breaking all damn time. So really good. Get tall, get short. Easy, really digestible when it comes to understanding. How do you guys like our hang snatch progression?
That's good.
Pretty solid, right? Getting the hang of this. Not doing too bad here. ring muscle up. Justin demonstrated for us. We know what it looks like. What's our first progression? This is a little trickier one, right? I think, most nervous one that we're gonna do. Yeah, support hold can be one.
I will go with low rings, just hands and pull to the chest. Like
Yeah,
fist bump
False
low.
script.
yeah, either one's fine. I think you could start with like a false grip ring row, like you're saying, Jose. I think you can start with the support hold, like you're saying. You said either one. It's not really gonna change a ton, I think, in the order that we're doing things. I'm gonna be super honest. I always started with the false grip ring row, but
Yeah.
I actually think I like the support hold better. I'm gonna explain why as we go. Like you're making me think about it. So support hold. What do we want to see here? I need something to teach. I think there's two good ones.
Just tension in the legs, tight core, and then keeping the rings close.
Yeah, I like keeping the rings close. It's close, right? I can coach that tension too, especially as we go. What's another good one? I failed teaching at my level 4 because of this one line,
Active shoulders.
active shoulders. So how would I explain active shoulder on the rings?
Why would
I
you-
go ahead.
No, go ahead, yeah.
I was
I
gonna
was
say,
just-
oh God. I was gonna say, I always tell them to imagine a turtle having their head inside the shell versus outside the shell. They want their head outside of the shell.
But a little
Better
kid's
than
gonna get
mine.
that. Better
Better
than
than
mine.
what I was
Too.
Better
I
than mine,
just-
I've never taught this. I've never taught the shoulders.
I was going to say, get your shoulders as far away from your ears.
That's what
Yeah,
I
that's
say.
good. That's good.
The turtle definitely adds some entertainment value to class, I would say. All right, so support hold. What's next?
Well, if you're already starting with that, then you could start with the dip. You can start, I don't know, having them do a negative down, maybe.
Yeah. So I would go, yeah, support hold. I would personally do the active shoulders, the shoulders away from the ears, and then we go to the dip. I want to see some control. So I like the thought of a negative. That could be something for sure. And then here's where I would key rings close. Now we're getting a little more dynamic, and I'm much more likely that it's gonna split. Quick caveat. I've got tiers of athletes here, right? Some people can't do a ring support hold. Some people can't do a ring dip. So I'm also going to show a toenail spot and a full one. When I do ring muscle ups in class, I have different levels of rings set up for everybody. Everybody goes to the rings they need to go to, so they're not struggling trying to get through. So yeah, we got our support hold, we've got our ring dip. That's really going to be your big analyzation of people's skill level and where we're going to allow them to go today for safety as well, right? If someone can't support hold, someone can't do a ring dip, there is no point of that day that their feet should be off of the floor. Their feet are going to be off. And I'm hard in that. I say that, I let them know, and I say no straight up, because we don't want an accidental iron cross happen, and it will happen. What's our third one? You kind of already said it, so I'm just going to write it. What do we want to see here? Obviously, the false grip,
Knuckles,
right?
yeah, the false grip, and then rings to chest or sternum.
I stopped saying sternum. I used to say sternum too, and then I realized like how many people
Nobody
know what a
knows.
sternum
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
I
so
don't
it's
think I
just
actually even say it.
so it's one of these things that like I just started saying low chest. I used to say sternum for a long time. So yeah, obviously we want to see the false grip. I can see and I can coach that before we move, and then I want to see a knuckles bump at the low chest. If someone can't keep their false grip in, what do we do?
Bend your elbows a little bit.
Yeah, let them keep those elbows bent. It makes it a lot easier. I usually have just everybody start with that, and then as I see like people have the strength, I'm like, okay, go ahead and straighten, and I build them into it as I'm calling these reps. I call all these reps. No one moves on their own on any of this stuff. False grip ring row's done. What's next?
Then you start,
Transition into the load.
yeah.
Yeah, lowering transitions. What's a cue here?
Rip your rib cage.
Yeah, I always say scrape the ribs. I spell scrape. There you go.
SCRAP.
There E? There's no E? Scrape?
Yes.
There
Yeah,
is a E?
at the end. SCRAP.
Yes, scrape the ribs, right? We've already taught contact here. Where does everybody mess up? They transition and they're way out here. So yeah, boom, I'm gonna scrape my ribs and now I go through. I think sit up can be a decent cue as well. I use that like as I'm actually probably cueing people to get into that low support. As far as the dip goes here, I can just revert back to the cues I've already taught in this. I can have someone do a jumping dip. I can have them do a strict dip. I can have them do a toenail spotted dip. Like any of that's okay. On these, I call out every point. So it's like one's fist, two scrape, three is they should be in the bottom. Four is the dip. Five's bottom. Six is scrape again. Seven is down. Right. And I would say these a little different, but the reason I do numbers is you can walk them through and be like fist bump, scrape, press, you know what I'm saying? And it's stage by stage. And then as they get a couple reps in, then you can be like 1, 2, and it's kind of like dancing, right? And I do that because it's so important, like I've already said a million times, to get into these good positions, right? And the moment you let them move free, someone's going to jump up, they're going to skip all of them, and they're going to do this weird lowering, jumping, don't know what to really call it, back uprise movement, and we've got to slow it down. That's something else I coach with this. Hey, I don't care if it's 10 reps today. If you give me 3 perfect ones every round, that's what I want. If you can't do 10 perfect ones, then let's go ahead and drop it down, right? Because we're just wasting our time. Go hard on the burpees in the dumbbell snatch. What would 5 be? This is where it gets a little gray. I'm just gonna put athlete ability, right? Some people are going to stay on the low rings. Some people are going to graduate to a little bit higher, like a chest level. Some people where they're going to do their own dip. Some people are going to graduate to a jumping. Some people are going to go through all those. They're going to start to, kip and get on the high rings. So you have this stage now where we go through. I think the hardest part is how do you discern where everyone needs to land and end up at in the next 6 to 8 minute window, right? Put a clock on. Round 1, everyone does low ring transitions. Round 2, you either stay there or you graduate to chest high. You graduate to jumping. You graduate to kip swings. You graduate to ring muscle ups. I always like to set my EMOM or my length of time to where I have at least the last 2 rounds are now what you're going to do in the workout. So you've got 2 rounds of actual ring muscle ups, or you're still on your low rings or false grip ring row. So every person has this advancing stage, and it also gives me the opportunity as a coach and the athlete to now have an athlete move to these rings, and maybe they're going to get their first ring muscle up. So give some practice time too. I think that's an issue that you see with Mayhem sometimes is we're like boom, 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 and it's so fast that like I didn't give anybody this chance to practice. And maybe magic was going to happen today, but we just didn't do it. We just had to get you to this damn workout. So plan out what your time's going to be. So I go through all of this. Maybe it takes 10 minutes. And then from 10 to 16 is this EMOM where I'm just going to do 1 or 2 reps and just graduate people through. And if I have more time, I'm going to do longer than an EMOM because I don't want to burn them out either. Does that make sense?
People who don't graduate, they're just gonna do a million reps and in the workout too. I
Yeah.
just feel bad and
No, don't feel bad, right? If I've got a little kid that wants to learn how to play baseball, he's going to take 10,000 reps at the baseball before he even starts to keep things up, right? Remember, it's a neurological skill that's happening. We need repetitions to get that down. And I understand totally, like, yeah, they're working, but remember, they're there an hour to work out, right? We care so much about our WOD scores. And at the end of the day, like, we need to care about them, but getting this right and doing it, it's gonna be fun. And then the flip side, if I have an athlete and I just did an EMOM 6, right? And I gave the option, I want you to do 1 or 2 reps at each station, and they can't do 6 low ring muscle ups and then a workout where I'm still probably gonna modify off of 5, and they can't handle that, then I need to scale them down more. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, if you think about that, like, tester rounds are a good example. People are like, oh, I'm gonna blow up for the workout. Dude, we're doing a quarter round of a tester, and that's gonna blow you up, then the workout is a problem, and we need to scale. See you, Cameron. So don't feel bad. They're there for fitness. If they do blow up and it's an issue, then maybe they do this skill session of EMOM low rings. And then maybe in the workout, we don't. Maybe in the workout, we let them rip and do false grip ring rows. So have that. Some people you're going to change, some people you're not going to change.
That's so funny. I used to have one athlete that used to say, like, he never jumped in in the progression. I was like, jump, and he would be like, no, I'm saving it for the workout. I was like, the fuck you are. You don't even know it.
You're that out of shape that you can't jump 10
Yeah.
times before you
Yeah.
work out. Like, when you really break it down and you really think about it, it's like, it's kind of comical, right? You're like, oh, it's really not that much. And I've had people too that are like, I don't want to test around. And guess who's last? Guess
Yeah.
who caps out? Guess who came back last in the 400-meter run because they didn't test and find out it's a bad idea. You know, like, these things are crucial. And, you know, the other day I had one person out of all my class roll their eyes at the clean progression. I had 5 people come to me after class and be like, that was amazing. And I hammered them. Everyone moved the needle that day, and they were there to work out an hour. We all want to burn calories, right? Well, guess what? Doing the progressions and going through reps are going to burn calories and also make you fitter. And if you have a watch and you look at your group, you're like, oh, wow, my workout was 10 minutes long today, but I was actually in zone 3 for 40 of them because they were on a barbell moving with you. So it actually is fitness also, even though we're not in the workout. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid, Issa. You're the coach. Like, get them practice reps. At the end of the day, if they walk out of the gym and we had 20 total ring muscle ups and practice reps, and they did another 12 in warm-ups, but they were at different degrees of stages, and then they did another 6, like, where are they at? They're at 45-ish muscle up reps, for half of them are super scaled. We do more than 45 reps of something all the time.
Yeah.
We don't think about it. It's just muscle ups are big, bad, scary guy.
On the other side of it too, from what Issa was saying, like, for me, sometimes I feel like on a high skill, like muscle ups, for example, that I have to do the low rings transitions. And it feels like that becomes so easy that it takes away the stimuli of the Metcon. And I think you kind of already addressed it. It's like, all right, we'll make it do like some ring rows, elevated feet ring rows or something like that. I guess that would be the better way.
Crazy hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you can go through that skill and do something like that. I didn't think of the elevating feet, but that is really hard. You see elite athletes. We have a games athlete in the gym right now, and we have, like, her friend, which is, this girl's really fit. They were cranking out elevated ring rows yesterday. They're very challenging. So, like that, or you go, okay, well, the low rings is easy. I'm gonna do it off my weak foot now. It sounds dumb, but it will make it much harder. Like, there's all these different degrees that we can tweak and make it harder, but then you also have to say, we've got 10 general skills, right? 2 of them are a hybrid of our organic skills and our neurological skills. Not everything all day long, 365, is only the organic skills, the strength, the stamina, the cardio, the flexibility, right? We also need to slow things down to do the balance, the accuracy, agility, the coordination. all of those things. Those are the neurological brain talking to muscle things, and that is training. We say, oh, that person's so athletic. There's a physical part of that, and there's a neurological part of that. So in the workout, something like this is a great example. We had nasty girls the other day, and I said the same thing. The ring muscle ups, if you're on low rings, great. That's your break. I just want you to be perfect. When you get on the air squats and hang cleans, you better fucking go unbroken, and you better go fucking fast. Right? Today would be a good example of this WOD we made. Hey, take your time. You get to the low rings, think about what you're doing perfect at no matter what degree you're doing. And then when you get on these hang snatches, you better go unbroken and go hard. And when you get on these burpees, go hard in the paint. Right? I can take the muscle up out of this equation. And if we do those two things, we remember the open. That was devastating. So, I mean, you're still get that workout done. It's just you have this moment of gift where you can slow it down and think about what you're doing. So, threshold training can be 100% effort, and then I'm going to slow way down to get this right. And that's threshold training, right? We're balancing what our good mechanics are with how fast we can move.
But per the game plan, that was those muscle ups would take like 45 seconds. So you still want to get it done in 45 seconds, even if you're going
Yeah. And that's
slow.
why I said, like, we may not do 5. We may do 3 perfect reps. And I would be perfectly content with that. Especially someone that's learning like these was like, oh, I don't want to burn them out. Like they might not be doing 5 every round. They may get back to it and just practice a handful of reps and then move on as well. Right. I watch time and time again someone that wants ring muscle ups and they don't take the time on these and they're doing them and their hands are way out here and they struggle for years and they get so frustrated. Right. I used to work with a coach that happened to him, and it wasn't until he started spending $450 a month for programming that guy made him do all this skill work, and now they're clicking. Now he can do ring muscle ups. It's the shit we don't always love to do is the shit we need the most sometimes too. Getting clients to buy in sometimes can be challenging. All right, guys. I think a good call overall. I will see y'all on Thursday. I've got some videos of like the entire gym moving. And then I've got some videos y'all have sent as well, but keep you coming because I'm starting to like get a hair low. So whatever you got, feel free to send it over and we'll get it on. All right, guys. I got some coaching videos too, but I got to figure out the audio for y'all on that one. I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.